Welcome back to the Just Build Baby studio. You're listening to the BuildX Podcast, your ultimate guide to creating exceptional homes, innovative living spaces, and staying informed on all aspects of residential building technologies. I'm your host, Buz Artiano. Today, we're excited to have Tim Booth in studio with us. Tim is the owner of Booth Heating and Cooling with over 22 years of experience in the business. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
So you and I have known each other, I think, about 5 years now.
Actually, it goes back a lot further than
Really?
that. Yeah, it does. I'm going to go back to when I was working for a company back in the day doing heat and AC. You were building homes for your initial company.
So that must be the
NABR?
Yeah, the New England Architecture Builders and Remodeling.
I was just a kid in the business, learning how to install heating systems.
Oh,
and
wow.
Homes for you back in the day.
So you were working for a company.
I was.
All right, well, let's go right there. Let's take
years. That's going way back.
Let's take the stroll down Tim Booth memory lane. So let's talk about how you got started. I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's funny. I learn something every time I have somebody in studio. So, so take us back to early days. How you got in the industry? How you got started?
I was younger, looking to get into doing something, working with my hands. Got my oil burner license. Thought I was going to become maybe an oil burner technician, doing service calls. Working for a company that was doing installations for builders on the South Shore. Yeah. We were installing baseboard heat, thing of the past. Boilers with tanklesses and power vents. Infamous power vents, the most illegal things that were ever produced.
Yeah, the infamous power vents.
Infamous power vents.
Yeah, especially the galvanized ones.
Yeah. Right about now, there's a ton of people just cringing because that was the worst possible. And oil tanks.
A lot of oil tanks.
A lot of oil tanks on there.
Yeah, put a lot of oil tanks in.
Gas was not a thing. Air conditioning was not a thing. We were 3-bedroom capes, colonials, and ranches.
I was thinking about that the other day. Probably the first, 15 years that I built, I don't think we ever put us in. Every now and then it was somebody like, I want central air. You're like, what?
So the very first house I did with central air.
So what year was that you got started?
Mid-90s.
Yeah,
mid-90s.
so probably like 95, 94 then. So we've known each other a long time.
Yeah, I actually did the heating system on my own house that I bought 18 years ago. I did it as a kid.
Wow.
Okay. With the company I was working with. And you say that about the air conditioning because I can remember the very first house we did that had central air. All of the tradesmen on there wanted to meet the homeowner because we assumed he must have been the wealthiest man you ever met because no one had ever done central air on a house. He had to be royalty, so we all waited around for him to show up just to, figured he was a celebrity or something because he had a central air system.
Waiting for Elvis to show up.
Yeah. I remember it vividly, seeing that house waiting for him to show up on there.
All right, so actually we've known each other a lot longer than that. I did not know that. So fast forward to Booth Heating and Cooling came along. What year was that for?
It's 22 years ago now.
Okay, so a while.
2002, 2003, around that time.
So you're working for a company. You said, you know what, I'm going to go on my own.
It's time. It was better to be my own boss than somebody else on there.
So when was it? Let's talk about that. When did that moment occur? Was it like a lightning bolt? Was it like a slow burn?
I've always wanted my own business. I always did. I just didn't know what at that time on there, and it was one of those ones that, we were doing, night work, side work, doing the business, things like that, and then there's never a perfect time to open up your own business on there. It's always scary.
Yeah.
So jumped into it with, just kind of recently bought a house, had a newborn. So let's give it all up, insurance, constant paycheck. The wife agreed and said, just do it now because we're not doing it later.
Yeah. So burn the boats, pull the pin, and go.
Just jump in and bought a pickup truck and hope for the best on there.
So it worked out.
I had the experience and it was just a matter of getting the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22 years later. And
sales cures everything, right?
Yeah, that's it. I'm the HR. I'm on the put the belt on during the day. And
yeah. So that's interesting. So let's talk about, obviously, so you've seen the evolution of the industry,
correct?
Right. So as we described, right, the old baseboard heat days up to today, and obviously you're working currently. Owning your own company. So tell us about the makeup of your company now. how many crews you have, kind of your service area, all that.
So again, we've gone through other changes. I jumped on board years ago with some of the heat pumps coming aboard on there.
Okay, so you were an early adopter of heat pumps.
Yeah, I was. I saw it coming on there. I've been working along with one of your parent companies, with the home energy raters. We've been dealing with this for years. Knew it was coming on there. The baseboard. Everybody hated that, so we went from baseboard heat to, the biggest thing back then was called HydroAir.
Yeah, the old HydroAir days.
HydroAir systems. It was a combination of heat and hot water, heat, by air.
Yeah, very inefficient.
On there. So, we had to transition from doing copper. Copper went by the wayside. We went to PEX. That all changed on there. Just really got involved with ductwork. I am the most hated guy of the trades between myself and the electrician, the plumber, because no one wants to see the ductwork. Everybody wants to finish every part of their house and leave no room for ductwork.
Right.
So, years and years ago, I just got into custom designing ductwork for custom homes and just trying to think outside the box and trying to, tell people that I'm a homeowner, I get it, but we need heat and AC, we live in New England on there. And then, in the past couple of years, the heat pump industry has just really taken off on there. So, and that's a whole new field on there. So,
Sure.
On there, but taking classes, working with other companies and things like that, just keeping up to date. Knowing it was going to change. We went from again back in the baseboard days, we were doing anywhere between 40 to 50 boilers a year, and then things started to slow down, and gas furnaces or ductwork became more relevant. Boilers became, we went to like half, and then at this point last year I probably did 5 boilers in new houses on there.
That's wild, right?
It's completely changed on there. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of that's code driven, but it's also customer driven as well, right?
Yeah.
So between home. Between wanting, full AC and between wanting indoor air quality and other things that go along with that, and being able to filter the air and control it, and temperature control and all that. So it's interesting. So tell us about your service area, kind of where you like to work. What does that look like?
I typically stay on the South Shore, where my company is. Basically, I'm working for builders on the South Shore. I have about 15 good solid builders that I've been with for a long time. Builders now, they develop their own team of people that they can count on call.
Sure, absolutely.
Yourself. I mean, again, we signed up for this. We're 7 days a week. I've taken a call from you on a Sunday because you're at your desk and I'm at my desk. It's not a 9-to-5 job on there. Something pops up in your head and you call.
Yeah.
Along with the 15 other builders I have, but that's just the nature of the beast on there. We know that.
Yeah. Tim, how am I going to get this to work?
Right. So again, I kind of specialize in working with builders. Working with them, again, with all the new HERS rating and all the new energy stuff, I'm 6 months in advance with the builders before they even break ground, because we're trying to figure out all the efficiencies, and there's so much to it on there now.
Yeah, no, it's not,
it's
call
not
you on a
just-
Monday, you come on a Tuesday, drop the boiler and throw the baseboard heat in and you're gone, right?
Correct.
Those days are gone. There's a lot of pre-planning that has to happen, like you said, between the HERS rating and then figuring out the equipment and what we can get for equipment. And how it's going to work and where it's going to sit and how we're going to mount it and where the ductwork's going to go.
And we haven't even touched on the fact that they've changed Freon now.
Now
we have no equipment, which is really good for the AC season right now.
I know.
That's another whole. That could be another whole podcast.
It's funny. I was thinking of that the other day, and I'm like, I'm glad I'm not in the middle of a subdivision right now, because I'd be losing my mind. Because we're in the middle of an equipment shift.
Yes.
Right. So just for people listening, up until when did the Freon, when did the refrigerant change?
It already has.
Yeah, but when is it like, kind of take me through that recent revolution so people understand.
So We've known about it for well over a year. They've
Oh,
been
I know
talking
that.
about it
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the air. Not everybody has been on board with it. It's across the United States. It's not based off of that. The problem that they had with it is they said it was going to start January 2025. So some companies jumped right on board, get rid of their systems with the existing Freon. Some people were like, well, we have a lot of inventory we're going to use up on there. And
Companies, you mean?
the
They're gonna burn-
companies
they're gonna
themselves
burn
on
up
there,
the
they're going to burn
inventory.
up their equipment on there. And the biggest dilemma we're having with this is it moved fast. They created this new Freon, but they don't have the Freon to sell.
So it's actually a shortage of
It's short
refrigerants.
supply on there. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part.
yeah, so my
So it's not really an equipment issue. It's more of a,
yeah, it's a
refrigerant issue.
refrigerant issue on
right.
there.
So now there's a black market for refrigerant right now.
Yeah, it's a real black market on there. So
The refrigerant mafia.
yeah, I was able to obtain one bottle, and
Really?
I've gotten
So it's that tight.
I've gotten multiple calls from larger supply houses
Desperate.
and want to know how I was able to obtain a bottle. on
So
there.
people are
It's that
desperate for
desperate
this
on
stuff.
there.
And is this a nationwide issue?
Nationwide issue, yeah,
Okay.
on there. And what's happening is, in kind of a nutshell, without getting involved, is when you buy an AC condenser, everything comes pre-charged with Freon, and you can do what you have to do to get the system running, and it's equivalent to, it could be up to 30 to 40 feet of copper. You can have Freon, then adds a little more on there. The systems have to come with some type of Freon, so they put enough Freon in the system to only do 15 feet of copper, which isn't enough to do anything. But you can't go to the supply house to buy the Freon to add the difference that is needed. So preemptively, I have been with all my builders and up jobs for the last previous 3 months, pre-buying all my inventory. So my warehouse is loaded with all of my jobs that are coming up for the next 6 months, just to keep the ball rolling.
Wow.
Because there's no date of when this is all. There's not a date of saying pallets of this stuff is coming July 15th or something on the, So, so it's a problem. It's the worst time. It's worse. It's summertime. It's AC. So, and it's non-compatible. So if your old system that may only be, 2 years old, which dies, and they can't replace it. Not only do you have to replace the condenser, you have to go inside and replace the air handler.
Right.
The expense of it is
just so
there.
people understand that. So just because your system dies on you and you say the compressor's no good, unfortunately you can't just change that part because the inside part is not compatible with the new refrigerant.
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means, so what about the copper lines though?
You can do a cleaning agent. Those are fine. Those
Okay.
you can make it work.
So we're
on
not
there.
ripping the house
We're not ripping
apart.
apart exactly.
Yeah,
we
but
can
we're
use-
definitely changing the air
Yep.
handler and we're changing the outdoor unit.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so what you've been experienced with, does it work about the same? Is it not as good?
Talk to me in 6 months.
Okay.
We don't know.
Too early to tell.
Too early to tell. We have one system we did. I used my sister as a guinea pig. And so, that could go good or bad.
Could be a bad Christmas
that
for
could
you.
be good or bad on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Just recently was over there. Didn't get a lot of gleams that was hot in there. So right now I'm 1 for 1.
Okay, all right.
1 for 1 on
all
there.
right.
So on there.
We got one win in the
one,
books.
One win on there. I've got a couple more in the pipeline. So we'll see. So
And so the new refrigerant has propane in it, correct?
it does.
Is it actual propane or is it something like
yeah,
propane?
so there is. They've done tests on it, and the thing about it is any fluid, even the existing 410 Freon now, it will burn. It has oil in it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to burn there.
Yeah.
And we've done classes on there, and the problem is it has propane in there. It's not like it's a propane tank on there. It has the slightest trace of propane in there.
It must be a printable. I mean, how much actual volume is in a system?
About anywhere between 4 to 6 pounds of Freon.
Okay, which means what in gallons if it was loose?
I don't even
10?
not even because a bottle of Freon is 30 pounds and a bottle of Freon on there.
Okay,
so it's minimal.
So if you had a complete leak, you're only talking about maybe 10 gallons.
You'd have to be a big system for 10 gallons.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd really have to be a big system.
Okay.
There. You might have a couple gallons on
Right.
there.
So the chances of it actually causing an explosion are pretty low.
Minimal. And the new systems now actually come with alarm systems, and if it detects a leak, it shuts the system down.
Okay.
That's
So
the
another
other thing.
service call for you.
Another service call there. So exactly.
And you know it's going to go at
Yep.
2 in the morning
Yep.
in August when it's 100 degrees out.
Well, I tell people in one of my works on the car for fire. I said they're going to call the fire department first because it beeps like a fire detector. Then they're going to call us on there. So,
right.
So it's
Putting
going to be interesting.
Putting the
next few
band
months.
back together.
Yeah, it's going to be a few interesting. So, but back in mind. So again, we specialize with builders. That's my niche on there. I got 4 guys, 2 crews out there. They're great. They know what they're doing. My end of the business is, again, I'm not a 24-hour service company. We offer our warranties. We help out anyone we can on there. It's either service or installation. It's set up on there. I'm set up for construction. I have to know my building codes, what I can and can't drill. It's completely 2 different ball games on there doing service on there. Again, we warranty our stuff for the year. And I tell homeowners afterwards, I said, set yourself up with a good service guy. And people get upset with me when I say, why would you have to do service? It's brand new. And I refer to cars. You buy a brand new car, you have to do an oil change. Eventually, you have to do tires and brakes on there. Have somebody come in every couple of years and just do a routine maintenance on there.
I mean, it's a mechanical piece of equipment.
Yep.
It's actually pretty sophisticated now.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
It is.
And whenever you add sophistication in it, bad things can happen.
Yep.
Right?
And
So it's
things
funny, I
break.
was amazed last night or this morning. Yeah, last night I was watching a video from a guy I subscribed to, and he bought this old D8 bulldozer that had been literally sitting for 20 years, and a Caterpillar, and he got it running in pretty short order, and it literally hadn't been running in 20 years. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if that was a modern day piece of equipment, there is no way that thing would start after 20 years. No way.
No, not at all.
And it, when I tell you it started up, I mean, he worked at it.
Yep.
But he got to run it.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. And he drove it. And it ran.
Because it was made well.
Yeah.
Made well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a serious piece of equipment.
It is.
Right?
And it's funny because things that and I'm the honest guy when I'm out there. I'm not trying to upsell you on anything. I'm just telling you. Again, I'm a homeowner. I get it.
Yeah.
And no one wants to spend money on the. I'm not the guy coming in putting granite in when you're walking in and everyone says, "Wow, that's beautiful," and you justify why you just spent the money. Except for me walking into your basement, no one's walking in saying, "Wow, beautiful heating system on there."
Right.
But nowadays things are just, again, the hard truth. If you're getting 10, 11 years out of a system now, you've maxed out. The 50 years, the days of the 15 to 20 years for a system, they're gone. All these high efficiency boilers, they're saying 12 years.
Yeah.
Condensers at best 10 years now. That's it. And I'm going back to jobs that we did 11 years ago and they died, and they're like, it's brand new. I'm like, no, it's 11 years old. It may look pretty and clean, but it's still 11 years old. And unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. Across the board.
A lot of it's obviously highly engineered to be the minimum spec to make it work.
Yep.
Right? And when they do that, then there's no room internally for it to fail in any manner.
Correct.
And if it does, then it ends up being obsolete, and it's not, the days of, fixing a few things on it and getting it running again are over.
Yeah.
You just got to cut it out, start over again.
Start over on there.
Yeah,
and
then,
they're all computer driven.
Yeah, 100%. And then on top of that, I mean, obviously the newer equipment in some ways is a lot better.
Correct.
Right? So you're better off to upgrade your system. So you're going to get a lot more efficiency.
Correct.
And I know for me, the newer equipment, it just works better.
Right.
Right? Yep. It's quieter. It makes more, makes the air cooler, makes the air warmer, faster.
Yep. Cleaner for yourself.
And cleaner. It's interesting. So let's explore everything heat pump. So you were an early adopter.
Correct.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I would say that I was early curious, but not really into it at all.
Yep.
And recently, obviously, forced into using heat pumps regularly. The thing that surprised me the most recently, and again, I had not ever put in a ducted system up until recently. And the first one was last year over there at 72 Jordan Road. And I was surprised, for me, a ducted heating system, you walk in the house, you turn the thermostat, and 10 minutes later you're warm, right? You get that fossil fuel, right? You get
blowing
the propane.
140 degrees temperature out there, high heat, moving the curtains.
And then, you're warm 10 minutes later.
Yep.
So we walked in the store, 72 Jordan Road. I had the windows cracked to, let the moisture out. We were just plastered, and I was letting it warm up. I think it was like, whatever, September, October, and I like to leave the windows cracked about a half inch on the top and let it dry for a couple, 3 days. And I'm like, boy, this is taking a long time to dry out. Because you have that, fossil fuel. You just hit, crank it to 78 or whatever you want, and
20
dry
minutes
the place
later,
up. Right. So it's day 3, and I'm still seeing moisture on the windows, and I'm like, boy, what's going on here? So and then I'm start reading up on it. I'm like, okay, well, it just doesn't have that horsepower, if you will, right? It's so I actually called Andrew from Hers Rating. I'm like, I don't know if this thing's sized right. Like, is this supposed to be like this? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. The secret is it's just got to run constantly.
Yep.
And it's low and slow, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting, but it is once you kind of equalize the space, I found that it's much more comfortable because you don't have that
the up and down.
The up and down.
Yep.
But you just people, so I've been warning all my customers, look, just leave the thermostat alone.
Set it and forget it.
Right. Don't turn it down because you're going away for the weekend, because when you come back on Monday or Sunday night and you're like, oh, it's time to go to bed, and you're like, okay, now put it to 72 and it's at 65.
Right.
It's going to be tomorrow morning when it's 72.
They tell you no more than 4 degrees to move your thermostat down there.
And that's a real statement. I truthfully diss to that.
And again, I like to refer to, to put in perspective, the new houses now with all your spray foam and insulation, and they're so tight, the best way to describe it is your house is a Yeti cooler. It really is. And once it reaches its temperature, it's there. There. And that's how these heat pumps work, low and slow. I'll get calls all the time. They're like, something's wrong. The fan is never shut on the ducted system. The fan's never shut off. It's not going to.
Yeah.
It's constantly moving that air at slow speed, and then it determines from the return air, once that system's within a degree or two, turns the condenser on to either add heat or AC, so you consistently have that, temperature exactly what you want it to be.
And that's the other thing. Good point. So I didn't recognize the same fact that I kept waiting for it to shut off.
Yep.
And I called Andrew again, and I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "No, you want it to run all the time because then, you're moving the air all the time, and B, you're not creating condensation on the coil and all the bad things that go along with that."
Yep.
So it was I'd like to say that I was an early adopter, but I wasn't. So
it's a learning curve for everybody.
Yeah, I've come around to it.
It really is.
I've come around to it.
They have their place. Again, heat pumps in a new construction, phenomenal. Heat pump into an older house with drafts and things,
tough.
Yeah, tough. It's a tough switch. I don't recommend it to people. Use it as a secondary source. Don't go ripping out your, if your curtains are moving in the wintertime because of drafty windows, a heat pump is not for you.
100%. Yeah, you'll be cold all the time.
Yeah.
You'll never get the house to temperature. So let's talk about the different heat pumps. So obviously we have the early ones were just the wall mounts.
Correct. Yep.
Right. So everybody kind of knows what that is.
Yep.
Now they have cassettes.
Ceiling cassettes. Yeah.
Ceiling sets. I was at the house the other day and it looked like an old Renai heater.
Yep. The low, we call them low wall mounts.
Yeah, low wall mounts, and then obviously you have the ducted systems.
Correct.
Right. So let's talk about ductwork. So where do you land on the interior insulated ductwork versus exterior?
I prefer the interior ducted on there. Myself and my company, it's our niche. I don't go to the local supply house just buy the ductwork off the shelf. I draw up every house that we do. I draw up the ductwork for that particular house on there. I get mine made up at a ductwork shop. It's insulated on the inside. They're 8-footers. They cross brace them with an X, so there's no expansion of the system. There's no bang in the ductwork on there.
Yeah. So when you say an X, so when they form the ductwork, they crease it.
They crease it exactly.
With an X.
Create like an X in the ductwork.
Yeah, and that strengthens it so it's not going. It's not oil canning.
Exactly. You're not getting the expansion on there.
Yeah.
And again, two reasons.
So
to
the
insulate it.
the interior insulation in your mind does what?
I think it's a better insulation value. It keeps your ductwork from sweating on there. There's no vapor barrier in between the insulation and the ductwork on there, creating water moisture, and then it drips out seams on there, which happens a lot on there.
Yep.
Again, with the HERS rating, I have to pass a pressure test. My systems come in, we don't fail. They pass phenomenal on there, because it's just a well insulated system on there. And it's quiet. It's also
That's
quiet.
the other thing. It definitely makes it quiet, 100%.
It definitely makes it quieter on there. So,
I noticed that in my office. It's a very quiet system.
And that's kind of our, again, we're trying to, myself, with my guys, we try to next level the best we can on there, and it doesn't matter for us whether you're doing a 900 square foot ADU, we're starting one tomorrow, a 6,500 square foot in Situate. So it doesn't matter. For us, every job is the same. We treat it the same on there.
Yeah,
so,
and I've met all your guys, and they're great guys, and they all do great work. So I can personally vouch for that.
They'll be glad to hear that.
Yeah. So then, beyond heat pump, so what do I do? And I don't know if you can answer this question, but what do I do if I need a lot of hot water? What am I doing now?
I mean, everyone's going to the heat pump water heaters. They really are on there. That's kind of the new thing. I don't have any negative feedback on them on there yet. Comparably to the bigger homes back in the day were trying to do like the small wall mount Renais in the closet, and they're great for small, again, an ADU, they're great for something like that. But
that house is 6,500 square feet. What are they going to do?
We're believe it or not, we're doing traditional boiler with a 120 gallon indirect water heater. We have hydro airs because we also have a significant amount of radiant floors that we're doing in the house on there. So we have all.
So somehow they managed to get all this work on the energy code.
Yeah, they make some changes on there through the their insulation and windows and things like that.
Yeah, they spend some money doing that.
In this particular house is on the ocean. He does it anyway. The job was passing without us. No matter what.
No, I understand. It's designed for the environment, but I was just saying to have a mixed fuel house in today's energy code is a leap.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's a lot of detail that has to be worked out ahead of time for that to pass that HERS rating.
Yeah, there is. And again, something I've been working on, this project, 10 months in advance on there.
Prior to starting it. Yeah, 100%.
On there. But again, so they
now
need
on
the
a project
boiler.
like that, you're going over there during framing stage and you're talking about a lot of stuff.
Yep. Exactly. It was a full finished basement, and again, no one wants to see the ductwork, so let's design that. Add it, third floor finish on there. So let's hide. Where do we hide things on there? So we're weeks in advance. I'm jumping back and forth with the frame.
Yeah. So like just to give some perspective, that's obviously a much more expensive job.
Yes.
Than a standard heat pump system.
Correct. Absolutely.
For a whole bunch of reasons.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the radiant. We do radiant and. Radiant.
So that's a wood floor and then stapled down and then.
Well, we have different. This one's actually we're doing the all inside the cement for the basement and the garage. So before they pour the cement, just the cement on there. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And radiant there's a couple different ways. You can do radiant from underneath with aluminum panels.
Yeah,
you can
my
do
first
tracks.
house had that.
Yeah, I have it in my own house on there. Works fine.
I like
you
it.
can do tracks above it. Radiant is a great heat source. I have it in my own house. I have heat pumps in mine. I have every heat source there is possible. People ask me, "Do you have it?" I'm like, "I have it. You name it, I have it on there."
You got your own test case.
I do on there. I have radiant in my garage and I have AC in my garage. So when people ask me, "Do you have it?" I do. You name it, I have it.
So that's a good segue. Let's talk about. I want radiant heat, but I only can do heat pump.
Electric mesh. For like the bathrooms.
Okay, so I can't make enough hot water with a radiant.
No.
I mean with a heat pump.
Nothing has been determined. Nothing has been,
Okay.
So if I don't want to be the first one to do it.
No, I don't either. I don't want anything to do with that.
No.
So if now the good news on the ADUs is they've reduced us back to the old energy code, so we can have mixed fuel now.
Okay.
So if somebody wants heated floor.
Right.
Now radiant. Now we can go back to a little gas
A
fired.
little gas-fired boiler, a combi boiler on there, heat
whatever.
hot water,
Yeah.
perfect scenario on there.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, and there are some people out there, and I'm sure they're gonna, and that's it. You can run them off of electric hot water heaters, and there's ways to kind of
That sounds expensive.
That's another thing that exactly, but
I can just see that meter spinning on that.
And the problem with radiant is everyone wants it. It's expensive. It's
till they see the
expensive.
price.
There's so many moving parts to radiant, and I'll have people all the time say, "Well, we just want to do radiant in the bathroom," and because they saw an HGTV, and they went to commercial, and they came back, it was done.
Yeah.
The thing with radiant is, it doesn't matter whether you're doing a bathroom or 2,000 square feet of flooring. The components that are needed to make that radiant work are the same.
Yeah, it's a minimum
so
charge.
you might as well just, if you're gonna do the bathroom, you might as well continue on and do more of it.
In my current house, I did the whole first floor and I did all the bathrooms.
Right.
And again, that's a fossil fuel system, so easy to heat that water and make it work. And honestly, it would be tough for me to give that up in a new house. It really would.
Yeah.
Because it's nice.
You forget you have it, and
Yeah,
I have it in half of my house, and then I walk over the other side, and I'm like, oof, this is, I literally will go, we have it in our master bathroom, things like that, and then
nice.
my kids remind me every so often that they don't have it on what is called their half of the
house.
house.
Tell them to go get their own house.
Yeah,
go get your own house.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. So that's a ducted world. So let's talk through let's talk that scenario through. So, my AC quits tomorrow.
Yep.
Let's knock on wood.
Yep.
Pretend that didn't happen.
Yep.
I didn't say that out loud. And I call you up and you come look at the system.
Yep.
And it's got the old refrigerant.
Yep.
What happens to me then?
So hopefully,
Can you still get any equipment?
You can. So that's so there. You can still get the parts on there.
Okay.
So compressors, most compressors are warranted for 10 years. The internal part of a condenser, and that's one of the saviors to some of this is they can't stop producing it because they have to honor those warranties for 10 years.
So they're 9 years away from making their last one.
Right. Exactly. What they will do is they will start increasing the price.
Sure, jacking the price up.
Up, trying to force the hand to move the hand.
100%.
We saw this back 12 years ago when we went from R22 to R410.
Yeah, I remember that.
A jug of R22, a year ago was going for $1,800. You can buy it, but $1,800, it's more than the condenser. So so the parts are still readily available.
Right.
It's just a matter.
Now the old refrigerant though, you can reclaim it, correct?
You can. Yep.
Yeah.
Put
And do you have to filter it all, or can it just go back to work?
You can go back to work on there. I mean, it kind of goes. That's what the recovery machine does. It filters.
Okay. So there is a machine when you recover it.
Right.
It's filtering it at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens to all that old refrigerant? Where does it go?
Again, no one really knows.
So you bring it to the supply house, and then they send it to a
exactly.
recycler.
There's a company, there's a refrigerant junkyard out there.
So then they ship it to.
They ship it to a facility. That's
then they ship it to a third world country,
exactly.
and it's still on the old refrigerant.
Yeah, because you can still buy it in China and all that stuff. You can still buy R22 and things over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
On there. Yeah. So it's just the United States. We can't get it on there.
Understood.
On there.
So that's interesting. So what's beyond heat pump? What's the next thing beyond heat pump?
I don't know. I don't know where do you go from this because
I think the next frontier is mini fusion reactors. They sit on, instead of having a backup generator, you have a fusion reactor.
Well,
I think I'm serious right now. I think we're 15 years away from that. 15 to 20 years away from
interesting.
that. You have your own fusion generator.
Yep.
There's a fusion company that comes around and services it.
Yep.
And you're making your electricity on spot so they don't have the transmission issue. And I don't think you own it. I think you lease
someone's gonna. Yeah,
I think you lease it.
Yep.
You pay a month for it.
Okay.
And they charge you how much energy you use, and they meter it, and you pay them, and then they're responsible for it. Because you remember, with a fusion reactor, there's no real danger. If it shuts down, it just stops.
It shuts down on there.
Right. There's no radiation.
But would you be able to incorporate that into having solar in your house somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a combination of both.
There's got to be,
know?
in there because
Yeah,
obviously
so-
that, now the hand being forced and, getting sold
Yeah,
on
yeah,
in there,
I think it's interesting. So,
I'm hoping I don't have to go to that next phase.
you mean you're just B, C, H, and then F.
Yeah, right. It just sounds like a lot more schooling that I'm not ready for.
We could take out, so we could just make it BFC.
Right.
Fusion cooling. It kind of sounds cool.
Right? Let's not roll that yet.
I think I'm going to trademark that.
Yeah, I was gonna
You're
say,
going to have to buy
yeah, I was
that
gonna
back
say.
from me. You're going to have to buy that website
That's
back
what I'm
from me.
afraid of a few years from now when you're sitting at your desk with a smirk on and you say, remember when? And you've got this running in a loop just in the background on me. How it's going to bite me on there. So,
Oh, I'm definitely buying that tonight. Oh, that's a good one. All right, let's have some fun now. Who were your early mentors and influenced you?
Man, I mean, the guys that I came from, the company I used to work with, again, I was just a kid in the company, and they just, there was a few of them in there that just kind of brought me along and showed me what to do, and I was eager to learn, eager to work my hands on there, so I was always the one that, let me do it. Made a lot of mistakes, took down a lot of things that I thought I could do better than somebody else at the age of 24, 25, because I knew everything back then. So, I just kind of, a little older, sat back and realized to learn from them instead of trying to outdo them, so on there.
Okay.
That was definitely, obviously family life, my dad was a hardworking guy, so he instilled a work ethic in me, and that's what you did. You had to work, you had to pay your bills, you went to work. There was no slacking and, on there, so.
So we've obviously talked about industry trends, but what other industry trends are you seeing in the industry, in your world? Obviously moving towards heat pumps.
Moving towards heat pumps on there, exactly.
Do you feel like you're getting a lot more training than you ever did before?
Absolutely, yeah. We're doing more classes than I ever have on there. You come across with your standard, your oil burner license, your Freon license, and those you just had there.
Yeah.
Now the industry is, because they're changing, they're offering classes at all times to come and just sit and learn, ask questions.
So these are by the manufacturers.
By the manufacturers.
Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. Because
And they're traveling to supply houses.
They're traveling
or
to
you're
supply
going to them?
houses, and again, this whole Freon change has probably been the most difficult. We'll be in a class with 50 guys, and it's never a fun time because the poor guy up there is just getting hammered because he's just bringing information.
Yeah, he's the messenger.
But he doesn't have all the information because no one does. And my end of it in the building world, a lot of guys are the service end of it. And I'm the elephant in the room raising my hand because they're like, who's in the construction world, and I'm first hand up.
Interesting.
And
so most of the guys attending there are
a lot of service guys, things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
again, on my end of it, there's not I'm not saying there isn't, but there's a lot more service guys than there are installation guys.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that,
Without
100%.
without our end of it,
Well, it's nothing against the service guys, but it's a lot harder to do install than it is service.
Well, again, when it's cold out, we're cold. When it's hot, it's hot. When we do a system and turn the heat on, everyone's thrilled that we leave. Right. We don't get to enjoy it. Everyone sits out in the car and waits for the heat to come on. Everyone else that's after us, they're yelling at us to get the heat on. The heat comes on, we stand around and everyone's happy. Then we leave and go to the next cold job, or we get into the next hot attic and turn the AC on. So we don't get to reap the harvest from it on there. So not a lot of people like that. Which I get it, but to myself, I love it. We're different jobs, multiple jobs going all the time on me. So to me, it's we're everywhere on there. You have to like it. You wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, it's got to be in your blood, 100%.
So.
Yeah. So one tip you would offer someone hiring for your trade, your industry?
If I was hiring someone,
Yeah.
oof.
Or someone starting out in the industry, what would you be your tip for them? We'll do both. We'll do hiring
All
and
right,
tips.
so young ones, I tell them in the trade end of it,
Yeah.
be a little thick-skinned. We have fun. We have fun on jobs. We do.
Yeah.
Again, we've been working with the builders long enough. And your guys, we all know each other.
Yeah.
You know, we have fun, but we get our work done. You know, so be a little thick-skinned because you know there might be some joking going on and stuff like that.
No, that never happens. That never happens.
But the other thing, I'll do your time. You know, just do your time. You know, sit back and learn. You know, and it'll come. You know, everyone wants to walk in and just be making top dollar immediately, and just do your time. It'll come. You know, on there.
All right. Favorite tool you can't live without?
Oof.
And it can't be your phone.
Yeah, no, that's fine by that on that. Jeez. Work tool. We'd be victim to Milwaukee, obviously, because they've just revolutionized our company.
Yeah, they've
on
got
there.
some crazy stuff.
It's hard to narrow down for me on there.
All right.
I'll say
things cordless.
Our biggest tool we all have at all times on our side is our impact gun.
Sure.
Because you can put a bid on there for anything on there. So
Yeah.
I will say that is our most used tool on there that we're lost without. The other ones you can get by
100%.
something on there.
I know. I was doing something the other day, and I was using, an impact, screw gun, and I was thinking back to I'm like, I just don't even remember screwing all these screws in.
Yeah.
I remember having electric drills with, clutches on them.
Yeah,
and
my first Makita, I remember. It was
Yeah,
the
Makitas, yeah.
the first
I'll tell
Makita
you
with
what,
a metal
they made-
case, and
they made some
had
good-
some good tools
They
back
did.
down
They
there.
made some good
but
screw
You
guns.
pulled out the extension cord
Yeah.
and looked for the...
Yeah, you spent a lot of time moving outlets and
it was a big
generators.
deal for show up at one of your houses that had temporary power.
Yeah. Well, I was spoiled. All right. Dream project you'd love to work on?
Oof.
Can be anything.
Yeah. Wow. Work-wise or just car?
Could be both. Could be personal. Could be work.
Yeah. I love cars and motorcycles. That's my passion right now
Okay.
on there. Things like that on
Yeah.
there.
Any vintage of cars? Or?
I do have an older one myself. I've got a 68 Camaro Resto mod.
Okay.
I'm into that type of things on
All
there.
right.
I go out to Vegas, out to the SEMA car show every year.
Okay,
It's
check
the
out all the latest
Yeah, it's the
and
world's
greatest.
largest car show out there.
Yeah.
It takes 4 or 5 days to go through the event on
Wow.
there. So, walking around looking at these cars that make my car look horrible when I get there. That's kind of my thing right now.
All right.
On there.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
From a very successful businessman when I was a kid, listen and ask the right questions. And
That's good
I
advice.
admired him for I looked up to him for his success as a business person on there. So he pulled me to the side. He said, "Listen, this is what you're going to do. You listen, and you ask the right questions."
All right. There you go. And, well, you can't reuse this, so advice you would give your younger self?
Oof. That's a tough one off the top of my head. Trying to think if there's some bad decisions I should really change on the air.
Well, we all
that's
have a few of
That's
those.
another whole podcast.
Yeah,
on there.
I was
That'd be
going to
another
say,
show
that's an
on there.
extended
On
episode.
there, you're right.
What do you see for AI coming into your industry, artificial intelligence?
I don't know. That's funny. We were actually talking about that. I don't know if it's going to have an effect on us as far as how it changes our industry because, we still need hands-on. You still need somebody right there. I don't see that having an effect on there. Maybe as a learning tool for video purposes on there.
Yeah.
That I can see for real-life video. But I don't see it somehow it's going to change my, we still have to have hands-on somehow on there.
At some point, somebody's going to pick up a tool. and do
Someone has
something.
to on there.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would it be? Anyone.
I'll go deep on here and just say, how about one more last dinner with my father before he passed away?
There you go.
On there.
That's a good one.
On there.
If you had $10 million to give away to charity, who would you give it to? Or whom would you give it
Who
to?
would I give it to? I'd give a significant amount only because of my sons are all involved in the some trade schools.
Okay.
And my wife's a teacher and seeing how the schools, some of the things they struggle with on there. I'd go that route, I think.
Okay.
On there.
And then final question, favorite food and favorite dessert?
food one's tough because I could go from a really good steak or a filet to just crave a good bar pizza on there. Dessert, good chocolate chip cookie. Warm, soft chocolate chip cookie. I'm not gonna lie, kind of kidded me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the BuildX Podcast. Thank you to Tim Booth from Booth Heating and Cooling for joining us. Please subscribe and like and share if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. And remember, Tim, just build, baby.